Anybody want a Ultima yellow top? It works great for sale. So the project that I'm working on today is getting rid of my single battery setup, moving on to a dual battery setup. The kit that I decided to go with was the one that Genesis Off-Road makes. Pre-wired, super nicely built. Looks pretty dang awesome. So this allows me to run 2 batteries at the same time. I do have a winch, warranty Xeon, Tennis Platinum. I've got a ARB dual air compressor, S-Pod. A couple of lights on the Jeep, nothing too crazy. And a couple of our accessories that I can't remember at the moment, but I'm running on the Jeep. It's super filthy because of the last few days. Went out and played a bit, and I decided to opt out on cleaning it up before I start doing this. But anyways, I got the battery out, and I am starting to pull this stock tray out. So quick little update. I removed the evap solenoid, super easy little clip. These are also pretty easy to disconnect. You just gotta squeeze these tabs out while pulling out onto the actual whatever evap line here, and then this thing was just attached like that. It just pulls right out. So got a bolt right here. You see here, and a couple other bolts some other places, you know. You'll find them, don't worry guys, just look. We got another bolt right there, we got another bolt right under the steering. I know it's all full of steering fluid everywhere, but it's okay because I'm upgrading to that PCS or PSC, whatever the heck you want to call it, hydro assist. At this point I think that the thing is pretty loose, ready to come out. The only thing left that I gotta do is disconnect my I forget what the heck this thing is called, but you got the power source here. You gotta disconnect the power from it, of course, and then this comes out by pushing these little tabs in and kind of pulling on each corner. So I'm filming this with one hand and doing it with another hand, so I can't really do that. I'll come back when this is out. Man. Alright, so pretty dang simple. You push this little tab in, lifts up. Got all this stuff out of the way. I had a little trouble because this was still clipped into place. I didn't notice that. Make sure you guys are careful when you unclip all of these, because apparently Genesis instructs that we're going to be reusing some of these little points on their little bracket. But anyways, got this out of the way. On the 3.6, apparently you guys don't have this massive bundle of wiring, but on the 3.8 you do. I mean, this thing is pretty much ready to come out. I'm gonna take a peek here and see. You know, it seems like it's snagging on something, so I'll figure out what the heck it's snagging on and pull out the whole shebang. So once this comes out, we can start working on putting in the new bracket. And when we do install the new bracket, looks like we got that right there. When we do install the new bracket, we're gonna have to slide it with, I believe, this bunch of wires underneath the Genesis Off-Road bracket, and everything else is above it. But we're about to find out if that's true or not. So I was trying to get through this whole pull out the tray situation without disconnecting brackets. So I ended up disconnecting this because it was crossing over to that, and then I ended up unplugging this massive thing. It was connected over here, and I mean, dude, this thing was just too dang tight for me to not disconnect it. I hope I didn't just shoot myself in the foot here by doing that, but I guess we're about to find out. I also unscrewed the steering reservoir so that I could get to whatever, wiggle it out a little easier. But okay, let's get this done. I still have just this wire right here that's really doing anything. But this wire compared to this bunch of wires, I think it's going to make a big difference, guys. Let's get this tray out. Got the whole tray out. I got to admit, guys, there is so much room for activities down here now. Oh my goodness. I just can't name one activity that I would do down there, though. But you can see this super cool megaphone speaker, or whatever the truck I installed, the PA system. That thing's pretty sick. And by the way, this thing is so massive. This was legit the only place that I could physically fit it and run the wires properly, blah, blah, blah. So if you ever think about installing a PA system, this is probably the place that I would do it, unless you go cheap and wimpy, and buy one of those cheap PA systems and won't do crap. But it actually held up. It's looking pretty dang good down there. Sweet. So normally I would take a lot of time down here and clean up the shop, you know. But I think I'm just going to take the new battery tray and pop it in. Because that thing's nice and clean, and, you know, it's going to look amazing. By the way, got a little present in this box. A little off topic from the video. But stay tuned, guys. These RI struts are about to get put onto this Jeep. That's what I'm talking about. So to the 5 to 100 viewers that may or may not watch this video, I'm going to go over the battery tray. So basically this bracket right here is to hold the new, well, not the new, the old, it's the new location for the evap module, or whatever the heck you want to call it, solenoid, you name it, man, just call it whatever you want. The breaker box, I still can't think of what the heck this thing is called, so I'll call it the breaker box. It goes right there, and that's going to clip in with these little tabs that they made. And then both batteries are going to pop right here, and then that nice fancy electronic system or whatever the Genesis off-road came up with is going to go up and over this, locking the batteries into place. So let's see if this is easier to put in, unlike that massive thing. I guarantee it, or even my hat, guys. Other than it being a little heavier, I guarantee that this is going to go in a lot easier. Right, so we got the tray put in. I ended up having to route this underneath the tray, that big thing that I unplugged, and then I rerouted this other thing that I unplugged, ended up plugging it back in and snapping it into place on the outside. That's what you're instructed to do. The evap thing isn't going to be long enough to get to this, so they actually gave you a little extension harness. Gonna go ahead and attach that, get the evap back into place, and snap the little breaker box back into place too. So you end up screwing in a bolt there, screwed in the three little firewall bolts again. Issue is though that since it's just a tight space, they instruct you to cut off the access that protrudes through. And then they give you these little rubber grommets to cover that up with. Issue with mine is I have aftermarket flares. I need to get my flares pretty much welded to my Jeep because they're not coming off. And this little attachment thing that comes from Jeep popped out on this, so there's no way that I can attach this at the moment, but whatever. You know how it is, guys, when you're building a Jeep. You always have more bolts than you started with, you know. So basically it's attached there, and one more bolt there. It's not attached there yet, but I will get one of those and attach it there too. everything's rerouted in its place, I believe. We're going to throw the breaker box back into place, and then we'll re-give it power. So that's kind of in a nutshell what's going on. Update. Got the fuse box put back in. Added the power to it, tightened the bolt down. Also attached the evap solenoid back in, or whatever the heck it's called. I was given this extra thing to make the wire a little longer, as I talked before. And then they give you some rubber hosing to cut these evap lines to make everything match up. Although when I installed my supercharger, had to cut some of this stuff up for the supercharger install. So I was honestly able to just kind of twist these up a little bit and get everything lined up pretty much perfectly. So I personally did not have to do it due to the supercharger install. You will have to cut some of these evap lines and make sure you don't have any kinks in your rubber hose and get everything reconnected properly. So to be honest, I think the last piece of the puzzle is to throw those batteries in. So it's the next day. My other battery came in. I popped both batteries in and got everything connected. Obviously, I skipped quite a few pieces, but everything's done. I wired all my accessories to the little bus bars that they have here. I have the dual compressor connected, S-Pod connected, and my winch connected. And then everything else is just the Genesis stuff. Went ahead and I got new battery terminals since the other ones were pretty old and messed up. There it is, guys. Genesis dual battery setup.